What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel, Culturally Appropriate. I'm your host, A. Lamont. Over here, we talk about all things appropriate to the culture and sometimes not appropriate to the culture. And depending on who you ask, today's topic eh, may fall on the side of inappropriate. Of course, context matters and, some other things that go in there. But on our screen in front of us, there is what appears to be a mugshot image of a person by the name of Khalees Crowder. Khalees Crowder hails to us out of the Sunshine State of California. And he was quite the topic in the year of 2023 and then the latter part of 2025. A story that I actually intended to have covered last year, but just kind of got caught up into some other things. Nevertheless, you may be familiar with his image and with the story, but if not, let's take a little peek by way of a snapshot provided by the Law and Crime Network.
When he's caught in the act sniffing a woman from behind.
But I definitely didn't expect him to do this. Like, what the actual
But officials say years after that incident, he's back at it again.
Okay, let's stop right there. Who would have thought that butt sniffing would become a subject of topic in today's culture? Taboo or conventional? Depends on who you ask. Let's talk about it after the 30. Okay, so Mr. Khalees Crowder, and interesting, I guess I should say criminal record because I don't know him personally. I did take some time to kind of glance through his criminal record, and he does have quite uh, the history in the state of California, which apparently seems to be the scene of his incidents or alleged incidents. In any event, he has become infamously dubbed the butt sniffing bandit, likely by media, by social media. Now, turns out that his criminal history reflects allegations or criminal behavior that covers things such as peeping, like a peeping Tom, coming to somebody's house uninvited, trying to glance through into their dwelling, your place of privacy, prowling, and then also residential burglary. And then more recently, it is the butt sniffing allegation, which that's going to be a form of sexual assault, amongst some other things. Now, what was also interesting to find out is that he was at the time, and I believe still is, a registered sex offender. So that gives us some idea as to the nature of his behavior and perhaps the severity of it. And these things, you can look this up through the what's the word I'm looking for? California Department of Corrections. You can go there for that information. I also found some press releases related to him through the Glendale Police Department in California, and then also Burbank Police Department in California as well. Now, putting all of the lewd conduct and the lewd acts aside, because I'm not really trying to go into the story from that angle because it's been covered, right? I'm really interested in this act of butt sniffing. Is it taboo or is it conventional, right? The answer would probably vary, I would say, depending on who you ask, uh, what group of people you talk to, so on and so forth. Now, probably overwhelmingly, it's taboo uh, on a public front or in the context of the public, right? This is where that statement, some things are better left behind closed doors or some things should remain behind closed doors. This is where that statement would appropriately fit given the behavior that we just witnessed. My interest in my investigation was okay, this butt sniffing thing, what would uh, influence him, if you will, or what would be the motive for him doing that? What is the arousal for him to do that, or what arouses him in that manner? What about it, right? Okay, what exactly is it? The it being butt sniffing. Is it some type of a fetish? Is it some type of a kink? Or is it just plain nasty? It could be a little bit of all three, right? Okay. Now, when you talk about if something's taboo, usually that word taboo is going to imply, that something's forbidden, right? It's atypical. It's not the norm. It's not the typical behavior. And yes, I would say that going around in public, unwelcome, trying to, sniff someone is definitely highly appropriate and is highly unsafe for the ward committee to act because you do not know how people are going to respond, right? Right. Okay. If something is conventional, then it implies that it's the norm for society. It's typical for culture. Those types of things like that. Okay. Now, again, and excuse me because I am trying to get over a cold, so let me rush through this so that I can get this out to you. Context does matter when you discuss those type of things. Context being people, places, things, culture, government, so on and so forth, right? But nevertheless, it turns out that butt sniffing is a thing, but there's a little caveat and there's a little twist to it, right? Okay. One thing being that uh, that type of behavior is most common among animals. And animals use that, according to what I researched, they use that as a means of discovery and then also communicating, right? Learning about their neighbor, learning about uh, I use for an example dogs because most of us are probably used to seeing dogs do that type of behavior, right? Whether they're male or female, kind of going up and, sniffing one another. And, we usually will respond with, ew, what are you doing? Probably depending on your age and your knowledge. But they're actually communicating with each other, and this is how they communicate. This is one of the ways that they learn the gender of the other dog, and they're trying to communicate something else to that other animal. Uh, they also try to pick up on the scent of that other animal in order to know how to engage them. Right? Okay. Now, this is where we differ from animals. That behavior is less common with humans. We are a higher uh, grade or group of species, if you will, and we have a higher level of communicating. We communicate with our words, we communicate by touch, we use our senses to take in information. It's going to be your eyes, that's going to be your ears, that's going to be your nose for those things that's appropriate. That's going to be your sense of taste, and then it's going to be your sense of touch. But for the most part, when we engage one another, we begin first by engaging with the eye gate and then also with the ear gate, and then we proceed from there. And if we want to get to know a little bit more about the other person, we're going to proceed to have conversations to engage in dialogue. Certainly not, but sniffing, unless it's on another level, okay? Uh, Usually when you talk about the nose of a human being, and if we're sniffing someone else, generally we're reserving that act for maybe like a newborn child or maybe for a toddler, children, babies who may be in diapers or who may be in pull ups. We're going to pick up on a scent when it's time to give them some TLC, when it's time to give them some tender loving care and to do some diapering, okay? But if we're trying to go the more romantic route, maybe we're trying to engage in some form of pleasure that's appropriate. The last thing that you would think of would be to go to the rear end and start trying to do the butt sniffing, as what we saw in the video with Mr. Crowder. Now, for some, men and women, but probably mostly men. Let's just come on, let's be real, fellas. This is probably mostly men. Uh, this tends to be maybe a kink or a fetish, some form like that. But again, this is something that really belongs behind closed doors or in the appropriate setting, because most of us out in public, we don't want to see that in the general public. And we certainly don't want someone coming up uninvited and trying to proceed in that manner, because you do not know what kind of response you're going to get. In any case, one should know that such behavior in most jurisdictions is unacceptable in public and may be classified or deemed as lewd conduct or behavior. Such behavior, I say, is better left behind closed doors and only to be engaged with a willing participant. That's it, and that's all. So, taboo or conventional depends on the context and depends on who you ask. That's it for now. I kept you on the flip side on the next episode of Culturally Appropriate.